Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Morning Coffee from Cherry Hill, New Jersey, RBN Television. My name is Joe Osamendi.
And good morning, I'm Valerie Zaslow. I'm your co-host. Happy
sure.
to see you.
Well, we're going to start out with the expert series today, and Jimmy LaRose is back with us from NANOE, and he's got a special guest also.
Okay.
So, Jim, welcome to Morning Coffee.
Good morning. Welcome.
Morning, guys. Good to be back. Always love morning coffee with Valerie and Joe. Thanks for having us.
Oh, it's our pleasure. And I see on the screen here you brought a special guest, Bishop Redfern II, who's the NANOE Chairman. Is that correct?
He is the founding chairman of the National Association of Nonprofit Organizations and Executives. Redfern?
Good morning, Joe. Valerie.
Good morning, Bishop Redfern. Nice to have you with us.
Good morning. Why don't you introduce yourself, and Bishop, and tell us a little bit, tell our audience a little bit about you and your background and how you got involved with NANOE.
Well, I'm personally a friend of Jimmy LaRose, and we've observed his work worldwide. I think our biggest meeting was on Hanchurch Road in England, and we were talking about ways that we could make nonprofits a greater part of the G&D, and that he has a vision for the future where nonprofits are not marginalized, but they are center to the whole country's development and growth. And from that moment, we formed a partnership where we want to impact worldwide change in big ways. And so NANOE became a tool by which we could do that. And NANOE is going forward, starting with the smallest nonprofit and going to the largest, and changing the sector and how we impact the workers, the associates, the people who are providing health services, education services, the people who are working for the lowest wage, but making the greatest human impact.
Well, that's really interesting, because one of the things I know about NANOE since I've known Jimmy, and I know you pretty well, is that you are always solving problems by innovation and training. And I think it's a wonderful combination.
It's also great that you're starting from the little guy, from the bottom, and working up, so that it's inclusive, which I think is important.
Well, Clay Christensen of Harvard University, he's recently passed, but he had something called Disruptive Innovation. And that's where you come up with something that changes the nature of everything. It is interesting to note that Jeff Bezos make more in one day than all the nonprofit executives across the country. We're having mothers not able to really afford to work as a chief executive officer of a major source of help for people in our community. If we want our gross national product to increase, we have to bring more people into the workplace, have them prepared to work. When our military veterans are suffering and can't get the help they need, nonprofits have stepped in to fill the place. But we need a new nonprofit, a more dynamic nonprofit, and one that's led by the head and the heart. The heart is good, how much we love and how much we care, but we need an economic head to raise the wages, to raise the function, raise the awareness. So we need a new business model for our nonprofit organization that have the smashing impact called disruptive innovation.
I like it.
Yeah, I like that too. That's fantastic. I mean, one thing I know that there's new guidelines now for nonprofits. Is that correct?
Joe, thank you for asking. Yes, I'm going to tell you a little bit of a history of this. After having been in the industry for 25 years, finally, I'm so dense, I finally began looking around and realized that what we were doing in the nonprofit sector wasn't working. So, in conjunction with Dr. Kathleen Robinson, with Bishop Redfern II, and our other board members, we ended up hosting a Harvard-type statistical study that was overseen by doctoral students that reached a clinical sample of 487 nonprofit CEOs. And we were able to discover that 85% of nonprofits were failing. But you want to know what happens when you do a clinical sample? And you find out that 15% did flourish during the greatest downturn in the economy since the Great Depression. We were able to take the 15% that flourished and measure their outcomes, measure the way whereby which they implemented their program. And it turns out, guys, that in each organization, there was a strong person at the C-suite level, CEO, CFO, COO. It also turns out that they committed to financial capacity building above actually serving the population. And in that they were committed to financial capacity building, they exponentially served more people, but they prioritized the acquisition of cash over serving the people, only so that they could serve that many more people. So we took all of this information and we took it to the industry execs, the National Council of Nonprofits, the Association of Fundraising Professionals, all the different state associations. And in my naivete, they were summarily rejected. NANOE's new guidelines for nonprofits, 1,100 pages, they were summarily rejected by the entire industry. And you want to know why?
Why?
As we ended, thank you for asking, Valerie, our newest NANOE member, I might add. I'll tell you why, Valerie. They rejected it because it ended up messing with their money. Because the state associations, the National Council of Nonprofit, the Association of Fundraising Professionals, certified fundraising executives are still selling the same PowerPoints from 1990 that stopped working in 1980. And we were privileged to find out what wasn't working, which had to go away, what needed to stay that was working great, and the new things that had to be put in place. So as a result of this, NANOE is the fastest growing membership network in the United States, and the heart and soul, our cornerstone, is empirical data, not anecdotal thought. It's new guidelines for nonprofits.
Wow.
You're bringing everybody up to speed.
And I would love to tell you that of those 1,100 pages, Valerie and Joe, there is only 6 sections in new guidelines for nonprofits. Network and engage. Harness the power of differentiated relationships. Guideline number 1. Guideline number 2, strong CEOs. Character, competence, courage, vision, action, and achievements. Guideline number 3, build financial capacity, secure technology equipment, legacy, facilities, and working capital for significant income. Guideline number 4, boost financial capacity, secure opportunity, risk, and change capital for significant impact. Guideline number 5, evaluate impact before, during, and after strategic growth actions. And then the biggest one of all, guideline number 6 of new guidelines for nonprofits, system shock. Leadership and governance cultures for charities that soar. Friends, we're serious about this. We've got to give our CEOs cover because there's nothing right about having a group of disengaged board members who you have to train being your boss. So NANOE comes in there and gives the empirical data that an organization needs to transform itself to become and benefit from everything we know that works in the for-profit sector and give it to the nonprofit sector as a gift.
What do
Now,
you think?
Jimmy, having said that,
Go ahead.
1,100 pages, guidelines, but the most important thing is the proof in the pudding. And I've had some of that pudding. When the CEO of a small nonprofit can earn enough money to put their child in child care, earn enough money to take a vacation, earn enough money to leave the office at 5 o'clock, and then come up with innovative ideas that can change the way they do business. We've had food banks all over the country exponentially increase the number of people they've served. We've had veterans organizations changing their model, focusing on raising capacity money and really investing in human capital, just as Apple does, just as Amazon does, just as Boeing does. And so we're beginning to focus on the real problem. The lack of money is like the lack of oxygen. Neither the head nor the heart works. And so we're interested in the people who are serving. It's a shame when we see that people who are on the front line of COVID, help, repair, renovation, the frontline workers, the CNNs, the one who nurses, helpers, the frontline people helping us to recover are making the lowest amount of money. How can you make a living? How can you have a family with $7.25 an hour? When we look at hospitals, universities, large institutions, the head is adequately paid so that they can do things. What do? They raise money. They know how to raise money. And so instead of leading with our heart, we want to lead with our head and heart both of which need oxygen. What is oxygen to the nonprofit? Money, cash money, money to pay staff, money to do research, money to operate programs. But these things must be led by the head.
Well, you make a good point, because you have to have leadership that number one, understands that your employees and people that work for you aren't your problem, they're your solution, and you got to take care of them. And that's really important, because what you said in one of those 6 things, Jim, was you got to have a strong leadership. You got to have CEOs that understand that.
I've got a quick story about a strong CEO.
Okay?
Is that okay, Joe?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, board meeting last week. The CEO was having to go to the board chair because there was a board member that was acting out. And friends, let me tell you about boards of directors. You can end up having problems at home, your children can be out of control, you can be getting a divorce, problems at work, but you get to go to a board meeting and it's about the perfect environment for you to act out your worst characteristics. You can be drunk with power. You can be overly involved. You can be self-consumed. And a board of directors fosters this environment where you get to take out everything that's going on bad in your life at everybody at that board meeting and the staff. Well, this strong CEO had an issue with a board member that was being disruptive, that wasn't contributing. And friends, don't tell me you don't know about that 1, 2, or 3 board members that just make all meetings go crazy. Well, she went to the board chair and said, we need to remove this particular board member. And it's a choice when you vote. You're either voting to remove her or you're voting against me and our CFO. And this paid for employee went to her bosses, who are volunteers, and said, you need to make a choice. And the board chair said, we'll get rid of her. So friends, you've got to be a strong CEO. You cannot let the failure of nonprofit structures that we call disengaged volunteers + board of directors. Now, wait a minute, present company accepted, Bishop Redfern. You are our NANOE chairman, and we do boardsmanship differently because of your leadership.
There's no doubt about it. Most of American capitalism is based on productivity. Everything that we do is, what do you produce? And to produce, we need human capital. We need good, solid labor. We need dependable labor. Amazon, Microsoft, all your major corporations are saying we need to pay $15 an hour to the worker who's just doing manual and menial things. But now when you get to the nonprofit sector, it would seem that these boards want to pay the CEO, the chief organizer of all the activities, like there's a line worker. We must begin to respect those who are prepared to lead. And that, how do you lead? The first thing you have to do is have resources. An army without bullets is ineffective. An airplane without bombs is ineffective. A hospital without doctors are ineffective. And so the workers in the nonprofit sector need what? Cash money so that they can have the life that everybody else in America has. And so we're letting economics lead us. Our gross domestic product is impacted by the nonprofit sector. We need to begin to consider it an asset, not just a passive liability. We want to do something in the nonprofit sector where every human person who's contributing to the overall health of our society is rewarded. Now, what does that mean? That means that we have better schools, better hospitals, nursing homes. That means that every part of the human part of our society grows. Well, what does that mean? If that is taken care of, the nonprofit agent can come to work without worry about our children, about worrying about our divorce, without worrying about all the things that we face. Now, you take this television station. You have a director, a person in charge, a manager, and they are paid adequately. But you also have a sales department that you're always in conflict with. Why? Because they're out getting the resources that you need to broadcast, to operate. And so nonprofits have to operate the same. We can't go out and do car washes. Television stations do not do car washes. We need to be more than tip cans, afterthought. We need serious programs. You're not going to solve the problems of cancer by having a car wash. You're not going to solve Alzheimer's by having a bean pie sale. We want nonprofits to be brought into the new age. Now, let me tell you what has happened since these new guidelines have come out. organizations across the country are changing the way they do business. They're going from penny tipping until raising serious money for capacity building. They are changing. And these nonprofits are able to pay their staff, able to pay for the resources, the equipment. You know, so many are operating on last decade copying machines. Just a simple thing like that. When we came into Zoom, nonprofits didn't have a televised conference room. They're changing. We don't have to meet. We don't have to have an annual dinner where we spend all the money on the dinner and nothing on the capacity building. With Zoom, with new technology, new ideas, new innovation, we are making a difference. And so we're shifting the resource development for all nonprofits. And those who are coming on board are not only profitable, not only making a change, the people working there are happier. And when you're happy, there's something that happens to your brain where all of the components of your brain start working together. It's not the fright mode where you're panicking and your adrenaline rush. It is the happy mode where you are creative, where you are innovative, where you are making a difference in our society.
Sounds like you're leading them off for sure. You've got a real fire in your belly, and it's great because you know what? Yes, everything you said is absolutely needed and warranted, especially when you're talking about, you know, reorganizing finances and how everything is run. Because I could say there's so many people who feel exactly the way that you do, not in nonprofit world especially, but you know, just in regular life. And so I think it's important, your mission and you know what you stand for, and just now the way that you're going to execute it.
Valerie, I don't want to overtalk myself, but let me just share something with you about my experience. I'm the presiding bishop and general overseer of the ecumenical churches worldwide. And people say, well, that's a nonprofit. Yes, it is. But you do not build Notre Dame, the cathedral, with having bean pie sales. You do not build the great churches in the world. Now, the interesting thing about churches, we're not funded by the state. We're a nonprofit. We have elected leadership, and the boards and commissions within the church structure. As a bishop, I'm a strong CEO. I'm able to make decisions. I'm able to hire and fire. And so what we're looking at, if you look at the churches across America, they're growing, they're thriving, and they are meeting the needs. We have daycare, kindergartens, we have after-school programs, we have shelters and homes for the shelters. The church has been operating with the strong CEO ministry since the beginning, and that's why we are able to perform. And so we are asking our nonprofits to join us in having these new guidelines where you can operate and have clear direction, clear understanding that it takes money. Everybody talks about the church because of tithes and offering. Well, all they do is preach that. Yes, we do. And we are not ashamed of it. And because we do that, we're able to provide health services. We're able to provide kindness. We're able to express our heart. We're able to express our creed and our religion. Why? Because we have the cash to do it.
Well, Bishop, that's interesting information. We're going to have to take a break right now, but we'll be right back with Jimmy LaRose and Bishop Redfern in a second. Stick around.
we are back and we are talking with Bishop Redfern and Joe LaRose this morning. And gentlemen, we're going to wrap things up, so I'm excited to see how you're going to bring this all to a head and give us the information that we need to know so that people can find out where they can go to sign up.
Friends, I want you to know we're in the middle of a membership drive, and you may have just saw that commercial because NANOE members are our mission. NANOE is all about giving you what you need to succeed and make all your dreams come true in the nonprofit sector. So I hope you'll join us at nanoe.org. That's NANOE.org. Join us at nanoe.org. We look forward to becoming members of that same family. For instance, our newest NANOE member is Valerie. Valerie, why did you join NANOE?
First of all, applause. And second of all, I think everything the Bishop just said, I think I completely stand for all of those objectives. And why wouldn't I join? It's an amazing group, and you have amazing ambitions.
Valerie, thank you for your confidence.
Absolutely.
Bishop Redfern, I want to thank you as our volunteer board chair and your 20 years in service. My brother, you know how to run a board that works, and I'm grateful for you.
Well, membership has its privileges. The privilege to serve, the privilege to give, and the privilege to lead. And this is what NANOE affords every nonprofit. Membership has its privileges.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on Morning Coffee and enlightening everybody about nonprofits. And I'll tell you something, every nonprofit that is familiar or not familiar with NANOE should be, because you guys are just terrific ambassadors of making nonprofits thrive and grow in a lot of, let's say, unimaginable conditions about money raising and stuff. You guys do a great job. Congratulations.
And we're going to continue to spread the word.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Valerie. You're
Thank you.
Our best and greatest friends. Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Thank you. So great to see you. Thank you so much, Bishop Redfern.
And
Thank you. Keep it up. Good work never stops.